ゲルナンバーが毎日何回も出てくるので大きなシフトが来るのではと思っています。本日はヘザーさんの星読みをシェアします。
A karmic Groundhog Day where you're repeating the same patterns over and over again, day in and day out, well, you're not imagining it. This eclipse season is like one big cosmic rerun where you're finally going to break free from these repeating cycles. And on March 29th, we'll experience the final eclipse in Aries for roughly 9 years. But before you breathe a sigh of relief, know this, it's going to feel like deja vu on steroids. This is happening in the exact same position where Mercury and Venus both stationed to go retrograde earlier this month. This is unheard of. This is so rare. And we are going to be having a lot of energy coming back around at the time of this eclipse in a way that's very karmic, fated, synchronistic, and that throws us in the direction that we need to move into by helping us let go of these repeating cycles, let go of the things that have been holding us back for so long. So that unexpected issue that came up very suddenly and unexpectedly in your relationships at the start of this month, coming back around. And this time it has fated implications that will impact your life for years to come. And that thing you said that you wish that you could have taken back in the middle of March, that's coming back to haunt you too. And so you're going to have to deal with that. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know to navigate this final eclipse in Aries and this never-ending Aries activation that's been going on all spring so you can align yourself with your destiny and finally move on. So let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. So for Aries and Aries rising, you've been put through the ringer for the past couple of years. Your whole life has been subject to a major change, transition, and transformation. There's something that came up for you in your relationships at the start of March that is coming back around. And there's also a big message that came through for you, Aries, around the 15th of March. So around the middle. It's going to make a lot more sense. You're going to not be able to understand it necessarily in a logical way, but you're going to have support in understanding it deeply, internally, intuitively. It's going to be more like a visceral feeling or a visceral understanding that something about this needs to change or transform, or that the direction that you're moving into is for a reason, even if you can't logically understand or see that reason at this time. This is where all of the hard work that you've been putting in when it comes to reinventing yourself, when it comes to changing who you are, when it comes to focusing on your needs, your self-interest, and when it comes to changing your life in so many ways, because you've probably come out of this past couple of years a completely different person. This is leading to something, and right now you're leading into this period of, okay, I'm finalizing this, I'm finishing this. I don't feel like I'm done working on myself, but I need to take a break. It's time for rest. It's time for contemplation. It's time for spiritual exploration. It's time to focus on my inner world instead of my outer world. And that's a big part of what this eclipse energy is doing for you right now. You'll be supported at the time and around the time of this eclipse, and also with the other activations we talked about at the start of this video. So check that for the timing, but you'll be supported by the people that you surround yourself with. You're going to be supported by your community. You're going to be supported by your friends, your group associations, your networks, your tribe. There are others who are going to come in and bring messages, bring help, bring support, so that way you can get through this and understand it much more clearly. And they're going to be a big part of your transformation moving forward. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this new moon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in your 12th house, which is the house of endings. You've been going through a lot of big endings over the past couple of years, Taurus. I mean, you're going through a major shakeup in general, just in terms of who you are, the way you show up in the world, a lot of different areas of life, especially if you are a Taurus sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees. You've been through the ringer in a lot of different ways. But these eclipses have been kind of pulling you more toward focusing on your internal world, focusing on your spiritual practices, focusing on your dreams, focusing on solitude, seclusion, rest, like focusing more on what's going on behind the scenes instead of out in the world. And that period is coming to an end. It might be welcomed, like you might have been forced into more seclusion. You might have been forced to be spending time alone. to get yourself together, figure out who you are and what you need in terms of your social interactions. And now is a time where you're kind of done with that. It might feel like it's not ending and you're like, God, I just want to get myself back out there. Or it might feel like, no, I'm not ready yet. I don't want to come back into the world. Either way, it's time. And so you're going to be coming into some fated, karmic, very important new connections now and into the next year and a half, where these people, it's going to feel like deja vu. It's going to feel like you already know them. It's going to feel like you were supposed to be connected with these people in this lifetime because you are. And that period of restoration, that period of solitude, that period of going inward, it was preparation for you to be ready for these new connections that you need in your life. And then for Gemini and Gemini rising, for Geminis, this new moon is happening in your 11th house. You've been going through a period of major change and transformation when it comes to your social circle over these last couple of years, and that's coming to an end. And so there might be some final things that you need to look at and reflect on, people you need to bring back into your life, people you need to resolve, like these karmic cycles that keep coming through time and time again with, so you can move on finally. And this entire period of 2 months, like March and April, it's showing you that. It's showing you where you need to cut this out, end this cycle and move on. And who's there to support you? Who are your benefactors that are going to help you get to the next level when it comes to your big goals and dreams that you want to achieve out in the world, the impact you want to make through your career or otherwise? That's a big part of this too. Who are you bringing with you when you up level and when you get to the next stage of your success? That's a big factor here. And you're going to be supported by a lot of different things going on here, but really you're supporting yourself in this. So, you're going to have a lot of really incredible benefits that come to you through your connections and your social connections, but you have to take advantage of those opportunities right now and act on them and create some of your own opportunities out of that space. And the other thing too, with these new connections that you have that are very fated, very karmic, you're going to really be taking with you the ones that are aligned with your deeply held value systems and belief systems. And there's a transformation going on at the end of this month. And really, again, all through March and April, when it comes to your social circle, you're finalizing who you're bringing with you and what karmic connections were just there for a reason to take you in a new direction. So for Cancer, this new moon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, the final one is happening in the 10th house. You are moving on from focusing so much on growth and change and transformation when it comes to your work, when it comes to your career, when it comes to the impact that you're making out in the world. And now it's time to kind of focus a little bit more on your belief systems, your value systems, the things that hold deeper meaning in your life, the reason why you even do the things that you're doing out in the world. And so there's something here that's not done yet, though. There could have been an important message that came through. There could be something you're confused about. There could be something that you want to keep going forward with, but you really need to move on from when it comes to your career and public reputation, so you can align what you're doing more clearly and more closely with your value systems moving on. Or maybe so you can approach a higher educational institution. You can get some additional education. You can find that teacher you've been looking for, or maybe so you can travel and just explore and expand your horizons. There's something here where it's like you don't want to let go of it yet, but also you do, and it won't end. There's a push and a pull going on in the area of career. And so you might need to bring something back in from the past. You might need to let go of a repeating cycle in your career that's leaving you feeling stuck. And this is going to benefit you immensely moving forward, because this chapter is done. You're moving on to something new. And then for Leo and for Leo rising, this new moon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in your 9th house. This is a beautiful eclipse for you, Leo, and the eclipses have been treating you probably a lot more kindly over the past couple of years, maybe up until recently. But this one is a big one because you're moving on from this period of exploration, this period of growth, this period of really following this thread when it comes to a belief system, a value system, some higher learning that you've been obsessing over and obsessed with for a couple of years now. And you want to keep following that thread, but really you need to kind of move on to something else, something a little deeper, something a little bit more intense. And so It could also be that you were going through a period where you could have been traveling more, you could have been exploring more, you could have been teaching more. That could be a big one. And it's kind of like, okay, where do I go from here? Now it's time to focus more on your finances and growing your finances and investing your money and your resources and getting your ducks in a row there, because there's going to be a lot of turbulence, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of just really interesting, unexpected energy that's going to pull you into a new direction to create better systems with your money, to create better systems with your investments. And so you're focusing more on earthly things in a lot of ways. You could be focusing also on like deepening the esoteric knowledge and bringing it down to the occult level. That could be part of it too. But a lot of this to me, for most Leo risings, is like, all right, I've been out here in the world learning, growing, exploring, traveling, teaching, and now it's time to move on. And so there's something that came up around the 1st of March and around the 15th of March that is going to be getting bigger and more apparent, but you're not fully clear yet around the 29th of March. And things won't fully resolve and move forward until like April and May. And then for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this full moon partial lunar or solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of money, finances, joint finances through marriage, investments, debt, taxes, inheritance. All of these things are 8th house things. And you've been working really hard on getting your ducks in a row or moving in a brand new direction when it comes to the way you deal with your finances, probably due to a lot of financial turbulence, a lot of upheaval, a lot of ups and downs in that area where you've been taken in a whole new direction with the way that you deal with money over the past couple of years. And now is a time where you're like, all right, can this just be done? Can I just move on with this? But it keeps coming back around. There's something here that's not quite finished. And there's something that you're maybe not ready or fully ready to move on from until you go through this process of having these things come up again and again and again, these cycles. Like the thing that keeps coming up over and over again for you, the financial thing that keeps coming up for you over and over again, all through March, April, and May, that's the thing that you are being called to wrap up. This is a karmic cycle. This is a fated cycle. This is an evolutionary cycle that you are done with. Now it's a time to focus on something new. So once you have your financial ducks in a row, and especially joint financial ducks in a row, maybe even with your partner, you're going to be focusing more on partnership. Like you're going to be focusing more on developing and creating these very fated, very beautiful bonds with the people that you are meant to connect with on a romantic level, on a one-to-one personal level. Like this is where new connections are coming in that are very synchronistic. And you're not going to be able to fully embrace that until you've wrapped up this old cycle, which again will be fully done by May. And then for Libra and Libra rising, this energy is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of one-on-one romantic relationships. It's the house of marriage. Maybe you've been through a really fated, very evolutionary, very transformative experience in the area of relationships over these past couple of years. Maybe a new relationship has come in that's been very intense and very positive for you. Or maybe you've had to let go of a partnership in order to move into something different or to approach partnerships differently. There's something going on here, though, where it's kind of reaching its endpoint. This karmic dance you've been doing with your partner, this karmic dance you've been doing in partnership with other people, this negotiation or ongoing like situation maybe that's been going on with someone like on a legal standpoint even. This is reaching its expiration date, but you can't quite let it go yet. There's a big message that came through or something really important involving your relationships at the start of March that might have come back around through like a message or an insight on the 15th or around the 15th of March that's coming back around again. And it's like, I need to figure out how to resolve this. Like, where am I? Where am I going with this relationship? Where am I going with my relationships in general? Once you wrap this up, you'll be able to move on and focus again on your work, on your day-to-day life, on your health, even if that's been suffering as a result of what's been going on here. There's something going on here though, where you really, it's like you want to keep it going, but you also don't. And you're like, will this finally end at some point. Like, it doesn't mean the relationship is going to end, but there's like a situation in the relationship that maybe you need to fully resolve. Like this karmic energy where you keep repeating these patterns in your relationships and you're like, why does this keep happening? You'll figure out why, and you'll be able to cut that and let it go. Not right this second, but you're getting closer. It's going to last probably till the middle of May before you can fully move on from this and move on to something else. And then for Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this new moon, this solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. You have been so busy, Scorpio, so busy. And you're like, will this end? Like on a day-to-day level, will this resolve? I am so sick of this. There have been health issues that have come up. There have maybe been health issues with family members, health issues with pets even. A lot of different issues with pets could have come up for you. I know I'm a Scorpio rising. I have 30 different pets and it's been a lot over these past couple of years that's come up. And it's like, okay, can we be done with this? Can we resolve it? Can we move on? Can we focus on the things that are joyful and that bring me happiness finally? And the answer is yes, but not yet. There's some stuff that you still need to work on. And if you've been dealing with health issues as well, basically whatever has come up for you, like big important messages, reflections, really big revelations, ideas that have come through for you throughout March and now into April and May around your health, around your work and your day-to-day work routines, around your employees and coworkers, and around your animals, if that's applicable to you, and around the health of other people or a caregiving role if you're taking that on. It's like you want it to end, but you also don't. It's finally starting to wrap up. You're finally starting to see it clearly. This eclipse is going to push it forward. And by May, you're going to be like, okay, we're done with this. We're on to something new. And you're going to be focusing way more on the things that bring you joy, happiness, pleasure, the things that you do because you love to do them. This is about shifting from your obligations to the things that you love, that are not obligatory, that you do them because they bring you joy. And then for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this new moon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of joy, which is the house of passion and pleasure, which is the house of romance. It's also the house of procreation and children. There could have been a lot of energy around all of these topics and themes coming up for you over the past couple of years. There could have been a focus on really wanting to create a system or create a situation for yourself where you are able to follow your passions, where you are able to do the things that bring you joy. And you're like, when can I finally get there, right? It's also a little bit of a more grounding energy. It's kind of like, I'm actually moving on from this. I've been having fun. I've been playing. I've been exploring these new avenues. Maybe I had a kid and now you need to focus on like laying down roots. You need to focus on, okay, what do I want when it comes to what goes on behind the scenes? What do I want my home life to look like? What do I want my living situation to look like? What do I want my family life to look like? And until you resolve and wrap up this quest for your own enjoyment, this indulgence in your own pleasure, this ambition to like do the things that you're passionate about, until you wrap up this saga, which is not fully there yet. It's going to fully be wrapped up in May. You're not going to be able to create what you need to create fully, which is part of your soul's evolution. Like there's a big change going on with your home and your family life, and that needs your focus. Like it needs to be your focus, and it will be. But right now you're a little split. And again, that's going to resolve, but just pay attention to what's coming up for you over and over again in terms of these cycles. Like, I want this, but like the universe is like, okay, but no, this is done. And then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this new moon, partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in the 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. You might have had a lot of big shifts in your family dynamics over the past couple of years, Capricorn. You might have had big shifts in your home life, big shifts in your living situation. You might have moved even, or had to change something up about your home life for like your career goals, or as a result of something going on with your career or changes there. There's a big shift in your dynamics that have happened there though. where it's finally coming to a close. Like maybe you've been buying property or investing in property even. That could be part of this too. Whatever it is for you, there's something that came up at the start of March where you're like, all right, this is the thing. And then middle of March, you're like, I don't really know what's going on here. I got like a new message that came in, and now it's coming back up for you again. Like there's something that you need to finalize. There's a repeating cycle or a repeating pattern that's very karmic, involving maybe your ancestry, your family lineage, your family in general, or your home and living situation where you're like, okay, I think I'm done with this. I would like it to be done now, please. And it can't fully be resolved because there's information that you don't have. There are things that haven't been wrapped up, loose ends that haven't been tied. Once they are tied, you can focus more on your intellectual development. You can focus more on creating a sense of community. You can focus more on communication and relationships. You're going to be focusing less on your immediate family and more on like your connection to other people, your tribe, your community even. You could be focusing on additional education and pursuing additional education. You can be focusing more on travel. Maybe you've been stuck at home because there's been so much going on there. But you can't do it until this is fully over and it'll fully make sense to you why you had to go through this process when we get to the middle of May. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this new moon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in your third house, which is the house of community. It's the house of extended family. It's the house of short distance travel, vehicles, modes of transportation. And there might have been a lot that's come up for you around these things where there have been big changes in your commute. There have been big changes in your community. There have been changes in terms of your neighbors. There have been changes in terms of travel and like fated travel that's come up for you. Maybe there have been changes in terms of your mindset due to additional knowledge or education. Maybe you've been focusing a lot on blogging or content creation or marketing even, because these are all third house topics and themes. There's something that has come up for you throughout the month of March that is going to be coming back around at this eclipse, and it's not fully going to be resolved until April and May, where there's a repeating cycle here. It could be like a repeating pattern with your siblings. It could be a repeating pattern or an old pattern where you thought you needed to go in this direction with like your work, your teaching, like your writing. You needed to go in this direction with your travel. You needed to buy this vehicle even, where you were stuck on this, you were fixated on this, and now you're realizing I need to let go of this actually. And this cycle needs to complete. The cycle will fully complete again in May, and you're going to be moving on to focusing more on earthly matters, financial matters, really getting your ducks in a row when it comes to your money and your material situation. That's going to be so important. It's going to feel tough at the beginning because Saturn's in the mix in your second house with the North Node. It's bringing very karmic, very tense kinds of lessons. But once that Saturn moves on, you're going to have this like beautiful freedom because you've created this foundation and you did the initial work. And you can't quite get there though until you wrap up this third house stuff. And so that will be wrapped up again in May, but it's coming up for you in a big way at the time of this eclipse. And then finally for Pisces and Pisces rising, this new moon partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries is happening in your second house, which is the house of money, finances, material possessions. There's been a lot of change going on for you, Pisces, when it comes to your finances and when it comes to the way that you're dealing with your finances. This is the end of an old cycle where something's come back up and you're like, I need to do it this way. I need to do it this way. And then you're like, but is this really aligned with my values? And maybe you got a message that came through or like a clear insight where you're like, you know what? I need to deal with my financial situation in a completely different way. I maybe don't need to buy this thing. I maybe need to sell this thing. I maybe need to start this type of account. I maybe need to close these investments. And it's making you realize that the way that you're dealing with your money, that you've been dealing with your money these past 2 years is not going to continue on or work for you moving forward. And so now is the time to shift. Now is the time to move in a different direction. And you're not going to fully know what that looks like because it's kind of like you're still holding on to it a little bit. The eclipse will make you let it go. It's going to be like, okay, I'm done. But you won't be able to fully move on from these lessons, these financial lessons, until April, May, when we have these final planetary activations of this eclipse. And once we do, you're going to be focusing more on you. You're focusing on what you're doing, your wants, your needs, your desires. There's going to be major transformations and upheavals going on that are going to throw you in a brand new direction that's aligned with your destiny. It'll be turbulent, but it'll be so worthwhile. And you're going to be glad that it's happening, especially once it's done. Maybe right now, not so glad because Saturn's helping, but as we get deeper into these next eclipse cycles, as we get into the fall, you're going to be glad that it's happening. But in the meantime, get your ducks in a row financially. Like there's something that needs to be closed up. There's a cycle that needs to end here. And it's coming up again and again. And you're like, can I just end this? It's not done because there's steps to it or stages to it or information even that you don't have yet, but it's close. It's close. Just keep slowly working toward it and you will get there, Pisces.
今回3月29日の部分日食の後、4月7日から水星が逆行から順行に変わることで、変化が起こり、自分にとって必要のないものが終わり、また新たな始まりとなり、5月14日に金星が逆行から停止、順行へと移行し、今まで無限のループのように同じようなことが起きたり、進まなかった物事がようやく動き始めのは、カナダとニューヨークです。現在、政治的にも問題のある地域です。このシフトでどう変わるのか楽しみです。ご視聴ありがとうございました。